Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the November 4, 2025 Public Board meeting of the Halton District School Board. These meetings are open to the public so that all can see and hear our deliberations and how each trustee votes on the business before us in an open and transparent manner. I would like to extend a special welcome to our guests, both in person and online. We are happy to have you join us this evening. We will start with the roll call. Vice Chair Oliver.
Good evening, everyone.
Trustee Baxter.
Good evening.
Trustee Bryden.
Hello.
Trustee Daniele.
Thank you, I'm here.
Trustee Gray.
Hello, I'm here.
Trustee Horn.
Good evening.
Trustee Rocha.
Hello.
Trustee Bubenharst.
Hi, good evening.
And Trustee Zhang.
Good evening.
Student Trustee Ho.
Good evening.
Student Trustee Shu.
Good evening.
And I know that Trustee Ahmed will be joining us momentarily. No trustees have sent regrets for this evening's meeting. Director Ennis, please let us know which staff are in attendance tonight.
Thank you, Chair Collard, and good evening, everyone. We have a full staff complement to support tonight's agenda.
Thank you. Tonight, Trustee Shu will be honoring the land.
We begin by acknowledging the land and our responsibility to care for and respect all that provides us with life. This land upon which HDSB is situated is on the ancestral treaty and title lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Mississauga Nation, now known as the Mississaugas of the Credit. Mississauga territory in the past and present continues to host both Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. The HDSB is committed to continuous knowledge building with respect to actions that address and resolve the ongoing impacts of colonialism. We do this by learning and understanding the true history, treaty obligations, duties and responsibilities, and Indigenous rights while actively maintaining mutually beneficial relationships and collectively respecting and caring for the land.
Thank you, Trustee Shu. Now we are up to item 1.3, approval of the agenda. Trustee Bubenhorst, would you please make a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that motion, thank you.
Trustee Rocha, would you like to second this motion?
I would.
Are there any objections to approving the agenda? Seeing none, the agenda is approved by unanimous consent. Now moving on to item 2.0, are there any declarations of possible conflict of interest for this evening's agenda? Seeing none, we are now up to section 3.0, delegations and presentations to the board, and we will now hear from our co-chairs of the Inspire Awards, Trustees Gray and Horn, to preside over this evening's awards.
All right, good evening, everyone. As I'm sure you're all aware in the audience and beyond, an Inspire Award is given to an individual or group that formally or informally associated with the Halton District School Board goes above and beyond to support students. The trustees are honored to recognize these often unsung heroes that have been nominated by families, staff, students, volunteers, and the community. They have been recognized as people who stand out and support Halton District School Board students and their achievements through exemplary caring, initiative, innovation, and creativity. Tonight we have 3 awards that we are giving, one which will be given in person here, and we will start with that, and that is going to be given by Trustee Zhang, and it is awarded to Linda Price, a retired librarian from Alton Village Public School. Hi, Linda. So, Linda, your dedication to Alton Village Public School community has left a lasting mark on both students and staff. Throughout your time as the school's library technician, you have consistently gone above and beyond, creating a deep love of reading and learning among all students. Colleagues describe you as a tireless advocate for students, as you would track down hard-to-find books, curate personalized reading selections, and ensure that every student felt supported. From organizing large books exchange to running scholastic book fairs, Linda, your efforts reflected your commitment to ensuring that access to books can open doors for everyone. Your initiative, your creativity, and your unwavering commitment to student engagement help to make the library not only a resource, but a cornerstone of the school community. In the library, Linda, you created a space where everyone felt welcomed and had the opportunity to explore ideas and stories. Your support for teachers extended beyond the library as you collaborated on lessons, shared resources on important topics, and encouraged staff to bring programs like the Forest of Reading into their classroom. Even after your retirement in June, your impact continues to shine through, where the love of reading that you have inspired in students will stay for years to come. Linda, congratulations. So as I said, there are another 2 awards that are going to be awarded at the local schools by trustees. One which will be given by me, which will be to Jill Donahue, who's at Pauline Johnson Public School, and then Carolyn Hill at Eastview Public School. So please continue to nominate people you see in your community who deserve this award. It helps to make our meetings start off on a really enjoyable foot. Thank you, Linda, so much for coming tonight, and congratulations.
Thank you very much for this evening's Inspire Awards. And now we will move on to item 3.3, the Student Trustee Report. Student Trustees Ho and Shu, please take it away.
Good evening, HDSB superintendents, trustees, staff, and viewers. My name is Trustee Ho.
And I'm Trustee Xu.
We hope everyone has had an amazing week and month of October. As your student trustees, today we are very excited to be bringing you the third student trustee report for the 2025 to 2026 school year. On October 15th, we held our first Student Senate meeting for this school year online. The senators were given an overview of what the Senate is, as well as some expectations and action items. The senators have also now been divided into their respective subcommittees, and with the Senate Executive Council and Senate Subcommittee co-chair applications closing in, the Senate will soon begin taking on more initiatives at our next Student Senate meeting and the first in-person meeting next Wednesday.
Furthermore, as part of our goal to bridge the gap between the Student Senate and the Student Councils at each school, Trustee Ho and I discussed with Vice Chair Oliver the possibility of hosting regional meetings by inviting selected Student Council and Senate members from a region. The plan outlines 3 meetings per school year, in which the first regional meeting will be going over goals and actions items as a whole. The second meeting will act as a report back and check-in, and the third as a transition and planning for the future. These regional meetings will together bring us closer to the objective of bringing senators closer to the student councils that allows better implementation and execution of Senate objectives.
Adding on, our first Student Senate meeting of the year was very successful, largely due to our new addition of our awesome Student Senate co-chairs, Giovanna and Charlie. Last year, previous Student Trustee Ochu and I worked to establish the role of the Student Senate co-chairs as an administrative leadership position within our Student Senate to provide seasoned senators and student leaders the opportunity to help run subcommittees, general Senate meetings, inviting speakers, and assisting the student trustees in bringing their advocacy projects to life. It was amazing seeing our new co-chairs thrive in their new positions, and we were able to get through all that we planned for the meeting and more, while possibly answering more than 100 senator questions in the meantime. Finally, our first Student Senate meeting was spiced up by a fun Who Knows the Student Trustees and Co-Chairs Best Kahoot, which featured fun facts and engaged our senators to reflect the welcoming environment that we strive to create. For example, I learned that Trustee Xu likes to rap in his free time, so I'm definitely looking forward to a possible future performance at one of our Senate meetings.
In addition, Trustee Ho and I have also begun our work towards addressing the hygiene and vandalization of washroom facilities across the board. During the October Senate meeting, 104 of our senators filled out a washroom forum and expressed their experiences and thoughts on the topic. In the survey, over 50% of the senators have expressed that they find their school washrooms to be noticeably unclean or vandalized either often or very often. Likewise, close to half the senators responded that they either agree or strongly agree to the statement that I wait until I get home to use the washroom because I don't feel comfortable using the one at school. With these data collected and the many more discussion and feedback that occurred, Trustee Ho and I will continue to work on this issue with our Kindness, Connection, and Community Subcommittee to improve washroom cleanliness. And we already got some exciting and innovative initiatives up our sleeves.
Finally, as we have established in our last student trustee report, Trustee Shu and I are hoping to platform more student voices at the board table through showcasing different quotes, discussions, and insightful conversations or ideas we had heard from students this past month. Adding on to Trustee Shu's discussion on our facilities community survey, in our board meeting, we were able to open the floor to our senators who shared some really insightful discussion, specifically surrounding menstrual equity and how our facilities fit into that. Menstrual equity in education is a very important topic that I believe the HCSB strives to address. As a young woman myself, I am very grateful for the efforts of this school board in providing safe spaces within classrooms for these conversations throughout elementary and high school, and I'm also aware of the partnerships the HCSB has sought out to bring free menstrual equity and menstrual products to bathrooms across our schools. However, in addressing this topic, as one of our grade 8 student senators, Minal, and a few other students has brought to our attention, most of our students would appreciate if there were products made more accessible to students on a daily basis, as they recall some of their friends having difficulties accessing menstrual equity in terms of menstrual products due to maybe stigma or like a lack of information or just access to products within dispensers in general. Within the Student Senate, we hope to strive, as previously mentioned, towards an inclusive and welcoming environment. As observed in the Ontario Student Trustee Association conferences, where free menstrual products were provided at the back of the conference room every single day, we hope that addressing products and conversations about menstrual equity will continue to be championed throughout this school board and following Asta Aiko's footsteps in supporting this important topic, starting even at the Student Senate.
Trustee Ho and I have begun tackling the many issues that we set our gaze upon at the start of the term. With our first in-person Senate meeting set for next week, we're looking forward to engaging the senators on these issues as well and achieve major progress over the upcoming month.
Hope you enjoyed our short conversation, and this kind of concludes our student trustee report for November. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Student Shu and Ho. Are there any questions for our student trustees this week? Trustee Bryden.
Thank you. You mentioned challenges in access to menstrual products alongside the comment that they are present in schools. Could you expand a little bit on where those challenges in access are?
Yeah, of course, through the chair. So first, we started off discussing that there were like dispensers in every school washroom, which a lot of the students commented as like a really good sign of the board supporting menstrual equity. However, they said like oftentimes they found that either those dispensers weren't stocked or they felt like embarrassment maybe accessing products through the washrooms. And I don't think this is an issue specific to our board, but rather specific to the whole province of Ontario and probably within like a lot of schools themselves as well. But yeah, a lot of the students were just commenting on how a lot of times when they were to go to the dispensers, they weren't able to find the products they needed there.
Thank you very much. As always, an excellent report. Now we will move on to our presentations, and this evening we welcome Superintendent Barnes to share information about mental health yearly action plan highlights. Superintendent Barnes, please introduce the staff who are joining you this evening.
Good evening. We're just going to give a moment for the staff to just get set up. While we're doing that, I'll let you know that our team here tonight is IPL Beth Bogue, System Vice Principal for Wellbeing Linda Delapaz, Mental Health Lead Stephanie Wallace, and we have support from Research Department Maria Glizik. Continuing on, the Halton District School Board's 3-year mental health and addiction strategy aligns with the provincial requirement for all Ontario school boards to have a plan supporting student well-being and mental health. Rooted in a shared commitment to safe and inclusive schools, the strategy focuses on improving awareness and access to supports, promoting early identification and timely help, and strengthening partnerships among students, families, and community members. To begin this short presentation, we'll share a short video highlighting one of our initiatives, that Student Voice Project, is happening in our schools. We can start the video.
I really wanted to come to this event today because I really want to make a difference in my school. I know many people don't really take mental health seriously, and I wanted that change.
Since February, we've been working with students on the initiative Student Voices, Healthy Choices. It is a way to involve students in mental health promotion and planning in their school communities. We know that there are a lot of needs when it comes to supporting our students' mental health, and the best way to do that is to educate our students so that they feel well equipped to be contributing members of their school community. We've worked with the students to learn about mental health as well as healthy behaviors and how to apply them in their everyday life. Giving them an understanding of when they feel well allows them to also know when they might feel like they need some additional support and what strategies they have to turn to in an effort to avoid addictive behaviors. We want students to have the opportunity to collaborate and learn from each other so that they feel more confident and capable bringing back what they've learned to their school community.
You don't always know what's happening behind the scenes and what people are going through at home, and I think it's really important to raise awareness for that. And so I wanted to come here today and just learn some little things that I can do to support my peers at school.
I wanted to come to this event today so I could use all this information to tell to my peers and just talk more about mental health in my school community.
So that is just one of the many good things happening in our schools to provide mental health promotion and upstream work. I'm now going to turn it over to our mental health lead, Stephanie Wallace.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to quickly review our mental health and addiction strategy. We have a new one that's developed from 2025 to 2028. We had a lot of input from multiple stakeholders, community partners, parents, students, as well as our staff within our board. So just going to go over the highlighted areas. The first one, we really wanted to focus on mental health literacy by embedding mental health literacy and well-being practices into everyday learning to destigmatize conversations about mental health and enable students to learn healthy ways to cope. Family engagement. We really wanted to share clear, easy to understand information with students, families, and staff about school-based and community mental health and addiction services, how to get help, and where to turn in a crisis. We also wanted to integrate inclusive and culturally relevant and responsive approaches every day to support students' well-being and social-emotional growth. Another focus is to create conditions where every student feels like they belong and sees themselves reflected positively in the school community and learns in a supportive environment. And our last focus, to provide identity-affirming mental health support for all students that acknowledges the impact of identity and based harm through inclusive practices.
Thank you. And now just to speak a little bit further about our Student Voices, Healthy Choices initiative that we brought to the school board last year and are expanding upon this year. These learning sessions have been designed to enhance student voice and engagement while addressing critical topics related to student well-being and healthy behaviors. It aligns with PPM 128 and PPM 169. Our target audience last year was students from grades 7 to 10 that may be involved in a school well-being team or a group of students that are taking on mental health promotion in their schools alongside their educator collaborators, which is a model we're continuing this year, also in partnership with our child and youth care practitioners. We had focus areas that we really wanted to target with this group, which are outlined on the slide above. Basically building on their basic mental health literacy knowledge into understanding healthy and addictive behaviors like excessive screen time use, the impacts of screen and digital technology, substance use, and cannabis and vaping, along with other risk factors. This year, we've extended the learning into grades 4 to 6 with their bullying prevention efforts. So we're looking at positive mental health promotion from the lens in line with our multi-year strategic plan of kindness, connection, and community, and really trying to bolster their understanding of what it means to be an engaged student in their school community and the positive impact that they can have on their peers at quite a young age. We have many K to 6 schools, and we have many students in junior that were hoping to participate. So our first session was actually today, and it went really well. We had over 50 schools participate in the grades 4 to 6 session and over 60 in our 7 to 10. So very well attended with our student groups. It has been created in collaboration with our partners at Public Health. They deliver the specialized content on substance use, and as well as promoting student engagement as part of their model to support our school boards. So we're really happy to see these efforts continue this year and the impact that it can have on our student population.
And I would like to take a moment of your time to illustrate another way that we're actioning some of our yearly actions for our mental health strategy. And this is through an initiative of Leading Mentally Healthy Schools, which is specifically targeted for administrators in our both panels, elementary and secondary. This is our second year providing this opportunity for leaders, because we know that when children feel well, they learn well. So with that in mind, that's our driving force to continue to provide practical resources and opportunities to dig in to some real good mental health leadership that prioritizes the well-being of the school that can be implemented through the bully prevention plan. And with that in mind, we have provided, we've had doubled our enrollment from last year. Speaking to some of the feedback that we got, we have 1 in person followed by 2 virtual, with more spread out. This will be for the entire year, with lots of opportunities to build what we call a community of practice. So that's building and bolstering all of their work through natural collaboration. And I just want to check my notes to make sure I'm not missing anything. If I was to capture this in three spaces, it would be vision, to help them align with what they want with their bully prevention plan, practical strategies that are evidence-based, and an opportunity to build their community of practice so that when things are getting a little bit more complicated, they have some guidance with some well-versed peers that can help them.
And in the next several slides, you'll be able to see some data highlights related to student mental health and well-being from the several years of Have Your Say data that we'll be collecting. Some of the questions we've had over more than 4 years, and some of the questions we've only introduced in the last couple of years. Just to mention that some of these data are already included in the monitoring report that you've received, so they will probably be familiar or to some extent familiar. So we'll start off by talking about the percentages of students who have expressed that their well-being in the past month has been excellent, very good, or good. And as you can see, the 2 lines throughout the slides represent elementary and secondary panel. And we can see that the elementary students, we've had about in the low 70s to high 60s for the 2020 to 2023 period, and that number has jumped to 80% for the last school year. For secondary panel, we've had the consistency in the mid-50s, and then the number has jumped to 67% for the last year. I do have to know that these numbers seem really good, but we did have a slight change in the wording of the question as well as the question scale, and this was done in order to align with community partners and with a Catholic school board. So virtually this 24-25 data will actually now become our new baseline, and we're going to monitor future progress based on the new baseline. We also have to look on the other side of the spectrum and look at the percentage of students who have selected poor and fair to express their mental health and well-being. We looked at grades 7 to 12 students. The numbers are 32% for our school board. So virtually a third of our students from grades 7 to 12 express their mental health state as poor or fair. This number is somewhat lower compared to the provincial average, which is 38%. We also looked at these numbers individually for elementary and secondary panel, and for grades 4 to 8 students, this number is quite lower. It's only 20%, but for grades 9 to 12 students, it's 33%. So this is something to be monitoring and looking in the future iterations of Have Your Say. We also ask students about the availability of supports and whether they are aware that their schools have supports to help students with mental health and well-being. Our numbers have been consistently for the elementary students in the low 80s and for secondary students in the mid to high 70s. This last year we've had 83 and 80% for elementary and secondary panel respectively, and we're hoping to keep these numbers high as our student wellbeing department and the entire board has done a lot of effort in promoting and making students aware of supports for mental health and well-being. It's interesting to note that the data from 2023 that the CAMH has provided has this number at only 57% for grade 7 to 12 students. So relative to the Ontario average, I think our board is doing much better. We've also asked students if somebody suggested that they see someone for help with their mental health and well-being. And then out of those students who have said yes, we've asked if they actually went ahead and saw someone. And you can see this number is only at around 50% for both elementary and secondary students. This is the question that we introduced in the last couple of years. One of the major reasons for not seeing anyone is students not feeling comfortable seeking help or being afraid of stigma, followed by students thinking that they actually do not need any help. This slide now switches gears, these data are collected from our students who are receiving or have received help from social workers and child and youth care practitioners. And these are just some qualitative data expressing students' gratitude and satisfaction with the services they have received. I'm going to leave these quotes for you to read, but I'd like to emphasize that some of the students are saying that they would not have been able to finish their school year if it wasn't for the help that they received from the board. We have many more similar types of quotes that we couldn't fit all here, but this is a nice way to end the presentation. And our last slide is just at a glance 4 years of the collaborative projects that Student Wellbeing Department and Research have had, and some of these projects are ongoing, and for this year we're also planning some new projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this presentation. I can't say enough about how important mental health is to the board. It's one of our commitments, as you know, and the work that you're doing is phenomenal. I'm so excited to see where we're going to go from here. I'm not seeing any speakers. Go ahead, Caitlin.
Hi, through you, Chair. I just wanted to provide a student perspective on the successes I've seen within schools surrounding mental health work that has been currently championed by your team. Firstly, to illustrate the amazing student well-being teams within schools, I'm personally currently a part of the student well-being team at my school, and every month this amazing group of students and staff meet to discuss and take action regarding mental health. And specifically, I was very impressed with the emphasis on student leadership, particularly that I've seen growing this year within mental health within this group. Since every meeting I'm able to help plan really cool mental health events at Abbey Park and is given like awesome support by staff and like my student success teacher, librarians, and even our vice principal. Also, I remember last meeting, the Student Voices Healthy Choices event generated a lot of excitement within our team as well. So I just think that event's pretty awesome. I also really wanted to comment on your focus area of family engagement, because I specifically remember having a lot of conversations with students where they've noted that conversations with their like immigrant parents per se on the topic of mental health is very difficult to navigate just due to differences in culture or well-being education. So having identified this as a specific goal to address within the Student Senate and within, you know, students around the board, I'm really grateful to see that you have added that as a goal, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more events on that in the future. So thank you so much for all the work you do. It truly makes a difference.
Thank you. Now moving on to Trustee Bryden.
Thank you. I'll echo Trustee Ho's comments in the importance of the work you do, and note that I'm glad to see that substance use is rolled into the category of mental health. Where do you see, you know, a lot of this work is focused on individual students and what they can do. Where do you see systemic ways that the board could change the environment in which students are learning, operating to improve their mental health? I'll take as an example, cell phone use. I know at a couple of our schools, they've gone beyond what the board has done in limiting that. But whatever that is, what pieces do you see the board able to do systemically that might be able to improve mental health, as opposed to working individually with students on their resources and toolkits?
Thank you. That's a great question. So if you are able to look online at our yearly action plan and our mental health strategy, I just gave like a high level overview. You'll notice that the majority of the plan is tier 1. And by that, it's like whole school, every child, every teacher has to know information. So a lot of our work now, there's really only one goal that really focuses on individual support for children. So a lot of our work is providing PD for teachers. We provide multiple parent nights. One of them is about screen time. We provide a lot of education to our support staff on how they can kind of bolster like well-being teams in the schools. But a lot of our work is kind of at the whole school level. If you look in the detail of those plans, we are focusing more on addiction screen time. We do have a parent night. We have a big event coming up in February along with our Catholic board for parents that's focusing, or sorry, in April in person, that's focusing on screen time. So we're really trying to provide education to all, mental health literacy, so people are more comfortable, and teachers especially know not only but what to say, but how to notice. So a lot of our learning to teachers is, you know, when can you kind of notice an issue and kind of intervene at that point. Want to add anything?
A follow up on that?
Yeah, so a lot of the work that I do, I'm a teacher. My title there said IPL, it means Instructional Program Lead, but I'm a teacher and spend a lot of time actually answering that question very specifically with people, because really something that we do need to do better as a society, a system and a society, is the understanding that we all have mental health. Our everyday conditions do impact that, both teachers and students and staff, all staff alike. And we have to demystify the stigma that exists around the everyday things that impact our own well-being, and bring these conversations into the classroom from very simple ways, like greeting children with a smile, having opportunities to connect and focus on their relationships. Relationships are the thing that really tie us together and help us get through our life. Human beings need relationship in order to feel well. And that is a very simple thing that can be done in classrooms through a number of different ways. And so we do have to work with our staff to really highlight the importance of that and place that focus on the people that are in the rooms around us, adults included, right? Because it really does go a long way. So as Stephanie mentioned, the model of School Mental Health Ontario is primarily at Tier 1 in the classroom, and being reflective and responsive, getting to know the people who are around us, using resources that are identity affirming, and taking those opportunities to really form connection with students, to work on those relationship skills. That is when kids know each other, students know or teachers know their students, that we are better able to support the model of good mental health. So I could talk about this for a while, but I know that there's a time limit. But
Did you have a follow-up?
We'll leave it there.
Thank you. And that concludes our speakers list. Vice Chair Oliver.
Thank you, through you, Chair. As one of the student trustee mentors and Senate advisors, I really want to thank you for all the support you've been providing. I know it's been additional work that's come your way, but the support you've been providing to our student trustees as they spearhead the mental health task force and the work of the mental health Senate subcommittee. And thank you for this presentation and all the great work you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening. We are now up to Section 4, Consent Agenda. For approval, we have the minutes from the Halton District School Board meeting on October the 8th, 2025. For receipt, we have the following information items: approved minutes to the Committee of the Whole, outstanding action items, board report schedule, and policy and governance procedure review schedule. As well, we have correspondence from Waterloo Region District School Board. I will read the motion. Be it resolved that the board approve the consent agenda and receive the information items for November 4, 2025. Trustee Ahmed, would you make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Yes, Chair.
Trustee Gray, would you second this motion?
Yes, I will.
Are there any items that need to be pulled for discussion? And seeing none, are there any objections to approving the items in the consent agenda? Seeing none, the consent agenda is approved by unanimous consent. We are now up to Section 5, items for ratification action. The action items for November 4, 2025, starting with 5.1.1, SEAC membership submitted by Superintendent Ruddock, Report 25124. And the motion reads, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees approve the recommended appointment of SEAC alternate Nadina Torek for Community Living Burlington, the recommended appointment of SEAC alternate Sapna Gaba for the Association for Bright Children, the addition of Community Living Oakville to the complement of SEAC member associations, and the recommended appointment of SEAC representative Shania Jagnaden for Community Living Oakville. Trustee Baxter, would you move this motion?
yes, please, it would be my pleasure.
Trustee Zhang, will you second this motion?
Yes, I will.
Trustee Ruddock, would you like to speak to this report?
Thank you to the chair and trustees. I'm happy to take any questions on the report, but you have all of those details in front of you.
Do we have any questions regarding this report? Trustee Daniele.
Thank you very much. I'm always happy to see more voices rather than less at SEAC. My question is around Community Living Oakville, and I'm sure they do amazing work. But has there been reach out to Community Living North Halton as well to reach all of the students that are living north of Dundas that would be involved? Or are they, I bet they're already on SEAC. I apologize for the question. I'm not sure who the committee is. I would just want to make sure that all the special education students are represented.
Thank you, Trustee Daniele. We don't have community living North Halton on the SEAC. Sorry? We have community living Burlington, and we have, oh, and I apologize, we do have, yes, we do have, thank you. So this makes the third community living Oakville, which rounds out all of the representations in Oakville, or in Halton. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? Is there any other debate? Seeing none, we will, oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Gray. You need to use the thing or I don't see you. Go ahead, Trustee Gray. It was just your mic? Okay. Okay, please cast your votes. And that motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Our next item is 5.1.2, LTAP Boundary Reviews 2025-2026, submitted by General Manager Thibault, Report 25122. And the motion reads, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees direct staff to initiate and complete a boundary review for SRA 201 south of Dundas, Oakville, formerly SRA 102 and 103, and SRA 202 north of Dundas, Oakville, formerly SRA 108, to establish a new secondary school boundary for the new Oakville Northeast No. 1 Secondary School and to review the distribution of the French immersion programs. And that the Board of Trustees direct staff to initiate and complete a boundary review for ERA 101 Halton, Parkway Belt, and Downtown Burlington, formerly ERA 100 and 101. ERA 102, South QEW between Guelph and Burloak, formerly ERA 102 and 103. ERA 103 Northwest Burlington, to balance enrollments at affected schools within existing and future communities for both the English and French immersion program. And please don't make me read that one again. Trustee Wubbenhorst, would you please move this motion?
Yes, I will. Thanks.
Trustee Bryden, would you second this motion?
Happily.
Thank you. And I'm just going to check over here to see if I have any speakers. I'm not seeing any. You just went in? Why is it not? Oh, there we go. I guess there's a delay. Go ahead, Trustee Daniele.
Thank you. And this is just a very, very minor point. When I'm looking at attachment 3, the 2025 LTAP Planning Initiative Summary, if before it came back to us, if you could go through that furthermost left column and remove Trustee Amos and add Trustee Wubbenhorst, because she's new. Let's pile the work on while we can.
Thank you. General Manager Thibault, would you like to speak to this report?
Through Madam Chair and to the Board of Trustees. So before you tonight is for consideration 2 boundary reviews. As pointed on the report, one is for the new secondary high school in North Oakville. So that should be a relatively straightforward boundary review. The other more complicated one is going to be reviewing the French immersion program for the other high schools. So there's a little bit of a balancing issue in terms of total enrollment and the program being offered and the number of students. Not necessarily coinciding. So this will be an interesting review where there'll be a little, I think the English track component will probably be the quickest one. And then on the other hand, we'll be talking about French immersion. So it'll probably be a tale of 2 realities there. But we're hoping that with that, we'll kind of balance things out too and make sure that we're offering the best program and have a boundary set for the new high school before registration next year, which it seems like we're on track for a September 27 opening. So if things continue on, then that's good news. And whereas the second one is more of a rebalancing of enrollment in Southwest Burlington and trying to realign or address some of the pressures that we're having and try to counterbalance that with some of the empty spaces, get rid of portables where we can. part of that's going to be a larger discussion around the offering of French immersion at certain schools, as well as trying to realign certain areas for the middle school model that require a lot of transitions for students as they go from 6 to 7 to 8 to 9, and see if we can reduce those changes and clean things up a little bit. So the scope is a little bit more reduced than what we previously discussed, with potentially the inclusion of Pineland and the further east. That's not to say it may not be reviewed, but for now I think we'll contain it more to the southwest area of Burlington. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions on the matter, and thanks for consideration of the report.
Trustee Baxter.
Thank you. Through the chair to General Manager Thibault. So I have a question about the French immersion. The boundary review or the plans for that area of Oakville are still considered medium term in terms of all of the schools, correct? Sort of in the bigger picture, it's just because of the French immersion review, 2 of the schools in Southwest Oakville will be looked at, Blakelock and Pine Grove, but the bigger Southwest Oakville boundary review or program, you know, that's in the chart as medium term, and that still remains as medium term, correct?
Through manager, are you referring to the secondary component or the elementary component?
So kind of both, because in the French immersion review, we're included in that is Blakelock, which is the high school for Southwest Oakville, and Pine Grove, which is the elementary school that offers French immersion. So they're both sort of being pulled in. However, the entire area is due, I believe we talked about before, and it's in the chart in the medium term as a bigger review in terms of school. You know, some of the schools are not full, accommodations, that kind of thing. So I'm just confirming that the bigger review of all the schools is still medium term, so that's in the future. And then just sort of a comment that given that it's a fairly large geographical area of Southwest Oakville with only those 2 schools that offer French immersion, I think there'll be a lot of questions from parents through me. So I'm just sort of warning you. I think there'll be a lot asked in comparison to some other areas of Halton where there's French immersion offered at closer schools. It's quite a large area that we're talking about. But my question is just confirming that the overall area and all the schools is still a medium term in the future review, correct?
So through Madam Chair, just to respond to the question, I would say that it's a little bit of both. To clarify, the elementary schools are involved in this process not for any changes to the elementary school boundaries themselves. It's strictly, we want them to participate because by the time we open the school, we want to ensure that the student voice for 7 and 8s that will be attending the new high school also have the opportunity or that parent voice to be part of that process. So we're not looking to change any of the elementary school boundaries at this point in time. That, I think, is more the medium term that we might look at. This is more to address some of the immediate concerns we have in terms of the participation rates we're having at TA Blakelock, specifically in the grade 9 panel, and potentially consolidating that program. So we want to make sure that the FI voice of Pine Grove is included in that discussion as well. But again, we're not changing the elementary boundaries. There may be a cleanup at a later date if they don't align, but we would try, at least in this review, to, and because we're looking at probably consolidation of the program, it'll probably make it less likely that we have a division of boundaries between the 2. I will note to expect that because Forest Trail is a school that is, as well as Munns and Sunningdale, are schools that receive students from the north, that there's probably going to be split cohorts for the time being, depending on whether or not North Oakville receives the FI program as part of the review. So that's something we're considering, but there are large schools of enrollment, so I think there's still a viable population. So yeah, it's a large geographic area, but it's more about hearing the voice of what is the FI demands of the area and ensuring that we understand that and to better gauge if we'll have better participation rate in the north, or if it's more just the fact that they're choosing, not that they're leaving the board, but more so they're not choosing FI and they're just continuing on the English program. So maybe we can offer better options for students in the south at another school that's maybe a little bit more distant but has a larger program offering with courses. I hope that answers most of the questions.
Perfectly, thank you.
Trustee Horn.
Thank you, through your chair. So I'm just wanting to look with the boundary review in Southwest Oakville, but it is including on the list schools in Southeast Oakville. And I'm just concerned, and I know that you've thought of this because I know one of the recent boundary reviews in southeast Oakville changed Pineland from a dual track to a single track French immersion. Tom Thompson now is still a dual track school, English and French, in Burlington. Did I say Burlington? Oh, I'm so sorry. I meant Burlington. Sorry, it's been a long day. So in Burlington, when there was a previous review with the Pineland, and then we went to single track French, which has now moved a school that was somewhat in a similar position with Tom Thompson that had all the extra portables to a school that's now struggling to have its rooms filled. So I'm just worried or concerned as to what we are looking at doing to alleviate the pressures at Tom Thompson without the same thing happening.
Through Madam Chair, and are cognizant of that, we want to avoid that situation. It's not to say that, and I'm not sure we're even, let me think this through. I'm not sure what the outcome of the boundary review is going to be, so we'll have to go through the process. So I don't want to predetermine anything, but what I can say, I'm not sure that we're going to be looking at additional single track models in this area, and I don't think it's necessarily required for this particular review. I think at the time for Pineland, that's what came up as the solution, but I think it was, given the pressures that we had at the time as well, like I think it was well warranted to have it as a single track. We're seeing an overall decline. For this area here, I'm thinking more of a realignment and a relocation of the program, potentially in a dual track, but we have to be careful too to make sure that whatever relocation we're looking at, we're not creating a situation where we're also diminishing the amount of grade 2s going into the regular track program and creating other ones. So this is a very tricky one, I would say. In reviewing it, making sure that whatever the outcome is, it has the desired effect. And it may not be as simple as just sending all of FI to Pineland, because I'm not quite sure it'll resolve the issue. It might alleviate a little bit, but they might not all go. So we have to better understand what's happening. And if more schools need to be part of that discussion in terms of receiver schools, which is why they're still identified within the overall attendance area, like that would be part of the discussion. But what we're focusing on is in that highlighted areas. Like these are the students that are more likely going to be moved to which school will have to go through the process to figure out. We have a few ideas that we've been hearing from the community and what they're looking for in terms of bolstering numbers and making sure that we have healthy school enrollments. But this is one of, as I've at this table said many a times, I struggle with what the potential solution is going to be. We've had some brainstorming sessions to get to the some ideas, so we're not going in empty-handed. But it'll be an interesting one to see how it all shakes out. So I hear your concerns. We don't want to replicate it, but we do also want to make sure that we're not oversubscribing Tom Thompson when we have other schools that have surplus space. And there's also some cleanup we can do as well in terms of trying to bring students closer to their home schools as well, now that some of the enrollment has, some of the pressures have kind of attenuated themselves over the years.
Thank you. And as a quick follow-up, I seem to recall, because the Pineland boundary review was just before my beginning as a trustee, I was on the other side of things, but I seem to recall in those meetings, the discussions were, and I might be foggy, I don't know, but that the single track French immersion school was the route that the Halton District School Board was looking at taking. So just being mindful of what that does to a school that currently is oversubscribed to, which I think I would be very worried and concerned that, as Amy knows, it bled Pineland. So Pineland went from the school of 700 plus students to now between 300 and 400. So thank you.
Thank you very much for that cautionary tale. Trustee Bryden.
Thank you. I am very happy to see one of the goals being the reduction of split cohorts, because I know in South Burlington that's an issue in a number of our neighborhoods where we've had kids that have had challenges making transitions away from the vast majority of their cohort. So glad to see that being addressed. Nobody likes moving schools. If we're coming forward and one of our goals is rebalancing enrollment, can you just give us an overview of what the value is in that process of rebalancing. If you have one school that is functioning but is over their basic school capacity and another school that has spaces, why is it worthwhile enough that we're going to ask some students to leave over here and go over there and disrupt their school journey?
Through Madam Chair, and that's a very fair question because it is disruptive, and when we're doing boundary reviews, so we need to be cognizant of what's the true value of it. And it's not purely financial in terms of, obviously there's a financial component removing, I think there's 7 portables still at Tom Thompson at present. I think we took 1 down, but anyway, that's here and there. So there is that financial component of having all of that on the sites and the cost that whatever we're putting in for that, because we are grossly underfunded for our temporary accommodations. That's money that's coming out of the classroom at the end of the day, bottom line. That's a board level perspective. At a on the ground perspective, that's more probably attuned to the concerns of parents and the community, is more because the school is oversubscribed, I would say. Even though we have the capacity to put the portables in, you don't necessarily have all of the benefits in that school, like in terms of the size of the library, the size of the gymnasium, the size of the play field, and all these things are being encumbered by the portable or by the larger student populations. It's not like our newer schools where we're accustomed to having 12, 18 portables on them because it's a larger facility built for that kind of pressure. Whereas this is an older facility, Tom Thompson specifically, that doesn't necessarily have that same benefit. So to me, this is also an idea of, by rebalancing enrollment, you're also taking a lot of the pressures and the strains on that particular school, and then taking the alternate strain, which we're also seeing is in declining enrollment schools. The smaller your population is, the less opportunities you may or may not have in terms of extracurricular activities and things like that. So it's not just purely a piece about, making sure that we're filling up all the gaps as best we can. There's also some indirect benefits too of having a school receive additional students and having one, so then you're kind of creating a more sustainable student population, not just in terms of space, but also, I'm sure, in program delivery or extracurriculars or things like that. So that's also concerns we're hearing in some smaller schools in Oakville as well, where that's starting to be a strain on the schools. So in rebalancing, I think you try to keep that level of enrollment high enough so that everybody benefits in the end. So I think at a local level, that might be what they're wanting to hear.
And I was at one of those smaller schools, school council recently, and parents were asking for more extracurricular programs, and the principal had to say, we only have so many teachers, and they're doing what they can. And so, yeah, I understand that growing some of the smaller schools can have benefits as well.
Thank you. And I have a couple of questions myself, just so that trustees are aware of timing for these. I didn't see dates in the report. I was wondering if you could let us know approximately when you expect to start and finish each of these, because I will be looking for a trustee from outside the area to sit on that, as well as the trustee from the area. So we need to be able to balance our workloads. Thanks.
Absolutely. Through you, Madam Chair, I would say for the Burlington review, we probably want to get started sooner rather than later. I'd like to have, that's kind of like a latest timeline for approvals. I'd like to see June. If April, even better, because then we can maybe implement more of the changes of the boundary review sooner, in line with staffing, which we'll miss it a little bit, but at least we can maybe gauge it. So I'd like to have probably a boundary review steering committee for the Burlington one, end of November, beginning of December, to confirm the schools in the study area and the pathways that will be undertaken for these. I suspect both will be a pathway one, but again, we have to go through the process. And then trying to get some parent representation, or start getting some volunteers prior to Christmas break, and then soon after Christmas break, get whoever else we need and jump right into it mid to late January and go through some reviews. How long and when we get results or recommendations will depend on how complex this goes and how many options we'll have to go through. So we'll have to gauge it by then, but I suspect, to be safe, 3 meetings before public meeting. So 3 boundary review committee meetings, public meeting, and then 1 afterwards to confirm. I would not be surprised if we added 1 to 2 for the Burlington one, if I'm reliving the experience from the Glenview Maplehurst boundary review. For the Oakville bound review, I would say not as urgent, but my deadline that I'd like to have is a confirmed boundary for October of 2026. That way, before we go out for registrations and option sheets and things like that, everyone knows what their boundaries are. There's a little bit of planning. If we can get it done before then and in June, even better. That one I'm thinking, again, there's probably not as many options to go through, so I'm hoping to have a boundary review steering committee sometime early December and get some parent representation and get kids started in January. Again, that one I don't see too many meetings, but to be safe, I'd say 3 prior to a public meeting and then 1 afterwards. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I'll be sending out an email to trustees looking for indications of interest in serving as a trustee on these committees. If you've never done a boundary review before, this is a really valuable learning experience. So I highly recommend anyone who's not done this before to please put your name in if you feel you might have time in the winter timeframe. Thanks. Now, seeing no other speakers, we will vote. Thank you, and that passes unanimously. Thank you for all your hard work on this. I know it's not easy, General Manager Thibault. We are now up to section 6.0, communication to the board. And under our items for information, we have 6.1.1, multi-year strategic plan monitoring report submitted by Director Ennis and Associate Director Petco, report 25123. Director Ennis and Associate Director Petco, would you like to speak to this report?
Thank you, Chair Collard. Firstly, let me say a big thank you to the Board of Trustees for providing us with the roadmap on the multi-year strategic plan on which is presented before you in the monitoring report. And I'd also like to thank our staff, particularly Dr. Bisheglia, Associate Director Petco, Manager of Governance, Carolina Khan, for the great work that they have done. And I also like to thank the entire group of senior staff, all the superintendents in the room, and all of the senior staff who have worked tirelessly to present what you have before you. I think we have taken the feedback that we have heard over the last little while. We've had plenty of conversations about what we present, how we present it, and I think you will be pleased. I hope you're pleased with the progress that we have made in this regard and what is before you. So I will turn it over to Associate Director Petco to fill in some more.
Thank you very much, Director Ennis, for starting us off and for your thank yous. I do also want to add my thank you to trustees for a meaningful, clear, relevant, robust multi-year strategic plan that the system could really sink their teeth into. And so before I begin, I also want to just share with you a few thoughts. One is, please understand that the multi-year strategic plan and the work that we do in order for us to now bring to you a report that demonstrates and reports to you the progress that we've had in those commitments requires deep, authentic collaboration among multiple departments. As we speak of the 6 commitments separately and the rating scales that we will discuss, please understand that it involves the work not only of those superintendents and the departments within those commitment areas, but all areas that are relevant as considerations in the work. So I wanted to state that. The other thought that I wanted to state is this. You will hear in a moment, and you have read in the report, the 3-point rating scale. And they consist of on track, moving in the right direction with challenges, and the third is at risk, needing further attention. I want to share that when we think about improvement, we don't necessarily think of it through a deficit lens. Needing improvement could absolutely be about moving from good to great or great to excellent. And that's a quote termed by Jim Collins and later by Michael Fullen. So in other words, it is important that we see what the challenges and barriers are in the work that we do to meet our commitments. Just for the fact that if we want to move from good to great and great to excellent, we need to know what those are so that we can work with them. And so having said that, I want to start by saying overall, Halton District School Board is an excellent board who is meeting high expectations for achievement, where students and staff feel safe and welcomed in spaces. And I want to start there. And then I'm going to dive in as we think about that framework and dive into the different commitments. So the first one is learning, engagement, and achievement. We have seen consistently high levels of achievement across the board. And our early initiatives are effectively promoting student-centered practices and enhancing engagement and learning experiences. We're also ensuring that we're finding creative ways to ensure we provide engaging and relevant and timely learning to meet achievement goals. And we continue to work with our most at-risk students, which is and always has been a clear focus for Halton District School Board. In the area of kindness, connection, and community, we are on track. And of course, it's a new area of the multi-year strategic plan, which again, we are thrilled that it's a part of our MYSP. It is an area that we feel absolutely connects all commitment areas. And if I think of a metaphor, I think about a stream, and I think about how kindness, connection, and community has to flow through and around all areas of our MYSP, but must flow through and around all goals and endeavors that we might have as a system in our departments, but also within schools and how it lands for students. So again, I want to thank the trustees for adding this to our multi-year strategic plan. So our data shows that we're continuing, that students and staff are reporting and continuing to report high levels of kindness in schools and workplaces, and that students report generally positive perceptions of school climate. And of course, there are multiple strategies that are being, multi-phased strategies that are being implemented at the moment. A couple of them, of course, are the Halton District School Board Kind campaign and the Connection Effect, which is a service leadership program that enhances empathy, communication, problem-solving strategies, and really ensuring respectful and responsive interactions within workspaces. Of course, apologies. Our next area is Indigenous rights and education. And of course, we're moving in the positive direction, but with some challenges in this area. We know that disparities remain for Indigenous identifying students across multiple areas of schooling, academic achievement, credit accumulation, and sense of school climate. And also the data highlights the need for sustained and targeted supports to promote equitable outcomes and positive school experiences. I'm happy to say, though, that efforts to enhance learning about Indigenous rights, history, and contributions has shown ongoing progress. And the overall data suggests, while some aspects, learning about experiences and achievement, for example, of Indigenous education require ongoing attention, there has been strong progress in other areas, including understanding the impact of colonialism and contributions of Indigenous peoples. And we're also seeing that there's a growing integration of Indigenous perspectives and truths across the curriculum as we continue our rights-based approaches. In the fourth area, on human rights, equity, and inclusion, we're moving in a positive direction with challenges. Progress within this commitment reflects efforts to promote equitable and inclusive learning and working environments. And through the department work and cross-departmentally as well, because again, we don't do this work in silos, the work has been done with intentionality and a real focus on equitable outcomes for students. And we've known for some time that there is an overrepresentation of some racial groups in lower achievement outcomes and higher disciplinary measures and low rating of school climate, really underscoring the need to continue targeted, culturally responsive supports. The data shows, on a positive note, continued progress in students' perceptions of their identities being positively reflected in school spaces. And we are being responsive to the system learning needs and protocols that are needed to address concerns. For example, the anti-hate protocol that came out for 24-25. And that's one measure that we will monitor very closely around the impact of implementation. On the staff side, there's continued intentional work with strategies supporting equitable hiring and ongoing attention to ensuring inclusive workplace practices. And we're moving in a positive direction. And we continue to focus on diversity of representation among our staff. How perfect that the mental health team reported tonight on the progress and the strategies and the plan that they've implemented. And you've heard from the team about the mental health and addiction strategy that's guiding the meaningful collaboration among students, staff, and families and community partners to enhance well-being and strengthen mental health supports and remove stigma. And you, of course, really beautiful to hear about the Student Voices Healthy Choices. It is project. It is so important to continually listen to and hear the voices of our students and staff and be responsive and be dynamic in the strategies we might use. Happy to report that students continue to report positive overall mental health. And on the staff side, we know that staff do so much for and on behalf of students. And inevitably, there may be societal trends and outside factors beyond an organization's control that may impact well-being. But happy to report that generally staff feel comfortable expressing themselves and raising concerns and contributing to a supportive work environment. And like I mentioned, we continue to be dynamic and responsive as we hear the voices of those who are impacted. And finally, in our environmental and global citizenship, and of course, you heard from Superintendent Flahat a recent report on the wonderful progress being made in this area. And so I will not need to go into details, but all the actions and initiatives such as establishing environmental leadership teams, participating in eco-school programs, engaging in learning for sustainable futures, they all reflect a growing culture of environmental stewardship across the system. How beautiful. And so in conclusion, I would like to once again reiterate that we are at Halton District School Board in a very strong momentum, moving in the right direction, in a positive direction. And we are meeting our commitments outlined in the MYSP 2024 to 2028. We will continue to closely monitor progress, carefully identify areas of need so that we may continually move from good to great and great to excellent, and ensure targeted interventions, and most significantly, to celebrate all the successes. At this time, I'm happy to take any questions.
Trustee Bryden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to say a big thanks to the staff who put this report together. We have been asking over the last couple of years for more data and data tailored to the outcomes that we're looking at. And I think we're seeing that in this report. and we're seeing data that's prepared with a consistent approach to a benchmark that's showing us trends over time. And obviously we're still missing some of the ministry-based data that's going to come, but this is what we've been asking for, and it's been well delivered. So thank you all very much. I had a couple of questions about the report. It was actually, before we even get to that, this is quite an operation. It takes a lot of effort to do the kind of work that supports us being able to see at the high level how are things going, and then being able to drill down into mental health, into the Voices on Hate report that we had previously, into whatever these areas are. We're asking a lot of our research team with good reason so that we can do better. I wanted to know how many full-time staff do we have, or how many FTEs do we have in our research department?
Dr. Bisceglia is here, but I can share with you that we have Dr. Bisceglia full-time, and then we have another support person who is, a member of the research who's also full-time, and then 2 support researchers. Dr. Bisceglia, do you want to add to that, or did I represent that correctly?
Thank you. That's a lot for a team that small, and something we may want to consider in our set of priorities and our ability to do the continuous improvement work. As we continue to talk about funding, I noted one of the challenges in the first commitment was limited funding for in-person professional development. And there's some mitigation that's been shown and how we're dealing with that. But I wanted to know whether that is hampering our ability to deliver on that goal. Are we feeling so much pressure that it's actually limiting us in our ability to do the PD we need to be able to do?
Thank you for the question. I'm going to turn that over to Superintendent Frankovich, after I also say that we are absolutely striving to be as creative as we can to ensure that the budget that we have is used as effectively as possible. Having said that, I'm going to hand it over to Superintendent Frankovich and perhaps Superintendent Connor as well.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to Trustee Bryden. While in-person professional development is a preferred option, we've been creative this year and will need to be even more creative next year around making sure that our teachers do receive the professional development that they need. That includes asynchronous options. We explored greater functionality around Google Meet with Kevin Raposo recently, because we see that being something we lean on for next year. And we're looking at small changes that over time, and looking at the number of PD opportunities we provide, will bring great savings as well, which is necessary. So when we look at the elementary model with 92 schools, typically we release teachers in half-day increments. And if we look at either a hybrid model or a virtual model using Google Meet platform, we increase that to 100-minute blocks, allowing us to release 3 teachers in a day. And so when you multiply that by the number of PD opportunities, we do see that as being substantial savings, but also seeing something where teachers are still receiving the professional development they need. And geographically, looking at our board, especially in the north, it will be a welcome change in some aspects, because some of our better meeting rooms are here in South Burlington, New Street Education being one of those. And so it's often tough for folks from Halton Hills and Georgetown and Acton to make it down. So we have been exploring those, and will continue to explore creative options to make sure that our teachers are still receiving the PD they require.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to Trustee Baxter.
Thank you. Through the chair, I would first just echo Trustee Bryden. I love this report. This is exactly, sorry. I love data. I think that, yes, it's what we've been asking for, but
given that we're moving into budget season or whatever we call it, this kind of information helps trustees to make decisions, to justify the decisions that we make around budgeting. So it's very helpful in that way as well. Also, sort of following on the question that was just asked about PD, I'm just wondering, with newer teachers that are coming into the system, are you finding that any of these sort of, I think they're called higher impact strategies and teaching strategies that you're providing PD on, are any of the newer teachers coming with that already? Is that being incorporated into teacher training programs? And if not, is there a need? And is that something that trustees could advocate for with the ministries that oversee teacher accreditation and training? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Trustee Baxter. Through you, the chair. That's a really good question in the sense that I'm not sure if we have data around whether that's happening or not, but I do love that you're asking about steps before they become our employees. So that is something that we're going to look into and perhaps connect with the teachers' colleges that we work with. Right, and see. So I can't give you a definitive answer here, but we'll definitely look into it and bring it back.
Thank you. Vice Chair Oliver.
Thank you, through your chair. I have a comment and a couple of questions. So with respect to learning, engagement, and achievement, it's noted here that under numeracy, professional development, staff came up with some creative ways to address limited funding for in-person PD by created recorded learning modules. So I'm glad to see that kind of creativity and resourcefulness is in action at HDSB, and just would like to suggest that if it's not already happening, that you obtain feedback from the participants to make sure that those modules are in fact meeting the needs of the participants, and seeking feedback into any kinds of recommendations for improvements. Moving on to kindness, connection, and community. The data provided in all the tables number 7, A through I think it's D, show excellent, I would say, results with very high proportion of students and staff agreeing to those statements. And I'm just wondering, in some of the other tables we have benchmarks that we're striving for. I understand that the purpose of this is to also collect baseline data to be able to compare over time, and also to compare to benchmarks. In the domain of kindness, the scale is used from a psychology of schools, I'm guessing journals. And so I'm wondering if there is any evidence in the literature that suggests what those benchmarks might be. And I'm asking simply because, we're doing very well, and it may be that you can't go any higher because this is such a personal, subjective, I guess, concept. So, we may not see any improvements, right? So then I guess what we would be striving for is to maintain this level. But I'm just wondering if there are benchmarks out there that kind of help to frame that. And do I have time?
Thank you for the question, Vice Chair Oliver. Certainly, it is encouraging to see the high proportion of students and our families who agree with the statements that were asked, and we're pleased with that. As Associate Director Petco said, we often strive from great to excellent, at least maintaining that, and it takes work. It takes dedication, intentionality, and work to maintain positive results. So over to you, Dr. Micheglia.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Thank you for the question. When I first saw the results, of course, I was pleased. But from a statistical standpoint, I made a joke with Director Ennis. I said, we all better behave for the next several years, because it's very hard to, of course, go higher. So, I think we can certainly have this year as the benchmark, but definitely I'll take a look in the literature to see if there are other comparators that we can use as an additional reference point.
Go ahead.
And I just have a comment around staff well-being, and I believe that's table 15A, indicating that really just over a half of our staff indicated that their well-being was excellent or very good. And while it is close to the benchmark, I'd say that that's a pretty lowish proportion of our staff. And I guess, I just wanted to connect that to, these are individuals who have their own lives, have their own life circumstances, and are affected by the societal context. And I wanted to stress the importance, I guess, of our kindness, connection, and community commitment, that we, support each other. Mutual respect, empathy, compassion, and patience are key. And hopefully that, along with mental health supports provided within our school communities and to our staff, that will make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Oliver. Moving back to second time speaker, Trustee Bright.
Thank you. I had a couple of more thoughts. One is I was happy to hear earlier in the mental health presentation that we were moving to align question wording with our coterminous board. There's an example question in here where I saw results flip-flopping around wildly that I was like, whoa, is that something unique to Halton or to HDSB, or are we seeing that more broadly? And it would be great to be able to compare that. So I just wanted to get an update on the alignment of our questions in the Have Your Say survey, in the student census, particularly with our coterminous board, and more broadly with the initiative that I know our Kids Network has been leading across the region.
Yes, through your chair, we last year there was significant amount of work that myself, my counterpart at the Halton Catholic Board, and the director of our Kids Network collaborated on, where we mapped onto the various indicators that OKN uses. There were also some questions that came to us through public health. And so we tried our very best to map wherever possible. There's some questions that if they had been changed, that would have meant that our respective CIPSA goals would have also had to be altered. So schools would have lost their baseline data, essentially. So we did our best. There is a data sharing agreement that is in progress right now. And there's a second mapping exercise that is scheduled for the spring. But it is very much in progress, and it is a commitment area. I will also say, however, that students comment that the questionnaire is very long. So it takes about a period and a half for grade 4s and grade 5s to complete, and a full period for secondary students. So the more mapping, the more alignment, the more questions we add that relate to the multi-year strategic plan, but also that meet our mental health and well-being and addiction strategy, and OKN and public health and et cetera, it just gets longer and longer. So we're looking for creative ways to be able to meet that need. But certainly where possible, we're trying to map the various questions across the different community partners.
That's good to hear, and having designed surveys like that before, I know all about making hard choices and what gets included. Then the other thing I wanted to flag was the credit accumulation in grade 9, 10, 11. We're not seeing big movement in grade 12, but we are seeing on track numbers going up in all of 9, 10, and 11, and that's really encouraging to me. And I'm excited to see what our graduation numbers look like over the next 3 years. And kudos to all of the staff making that happen.
Thank you, Trustee Bryden. And now we'll move on to Trustee Rocha.
That was a great segue into my question. Through the chair, under the learning, engagement, and achievement commitment on page 8, there is a table that refers to the graduation rate cohorts. And we're so close to meeting the benchmark of 89% in 4-year grad rate. So my question is that even though we're almost at our benchmark, the results still show that 1 in 10 students aren't graduating. My question is, do we track, if I'm interpreting this properly, do we track the reasons for students not graduating when we know the reason? And if we don't, why not? And my thought process is if students aren't graduating and we know the reason why they're not graduating, it's the, can we put resources in place to bump up our numbers to get them to graduate, or, what is it that the board can do to have every kid graduate, or at least reduce our stats of kids who don't, so.
Thank you for that, Trustee Rocha. We certainly share your desire to see every student graduate. We do have resources that we put in place, and I'm going to ask Superintendent Connor if she would expand on that for me.
Certainly, yeah. Thank you for the question. It's a great question and one we should all be asking. So through to the chair, I will share that we have a re-engagement counselor whose primary responsibility it is to work with any student who is an early leaver. And by definition of an early leaver, that's a student that is leaving the system without completing their OSSD. These students, despite the fact that they are no longer in our system, are still supported by our school board with actions to reduce the barriers that may exist for those students who are having challenges in re-engaging with schools, and providing assistance and support to those students so that they know that the door and the opportunities to graduate and complete an OSSD is always open to them. Many of our students very successfully transition to our adult education programs through Gary Allen High School. We have wonderful program opportunities like MPLAR, Maturity Prior Learning Assessment Recognition, very specifically defined and developed in order to support some of our older learners in completing their Ontario Secondary School Diploma. I'd also share that our re-engagement officer works very, very closely, not only with students that actually leave our system, but students who we know at the school level are potentially in risk and not on track to graduate. So they work very, very closely with school teams, and in each school team that includes our guidance counselors, our social workers, student success teachers, administrators, to really ensure that before students are leaving, we're doing all that we can to support them in a setting that will allow each and every one of them to be successful. So what I would share with that is that we do monitor and support students who don't graduate. We do understand and know why, and actively seek to, again, remove barriers and create opportunities for those students to complete their high school diploma. For some of our students, this may take several years into adulthood to happen for a whole host of reasons. But we know, and having been a former principal of Gary Allen, we have students that cross the stage in their 30s and in their 40s and in their 50s. Our door is always open to ensuring every single individual we serve has the opportunity to earn a high school diploma. The other challenge is, so if you look at kind of a tracking, and of course our research department could speak more impactfully around it, being able to track baseline data in which we have students that again can take multiple years or potentially move out of region, which isn't atypical, makes it a bit more challenging to be able to look at the specific number and baseline change over time, over a multitude of years. And again, research could speak more closely to that. But what I would emphasize is our deep commitment, obligation, and support to ensure, again, all of our students through adolescence through to adulthood absolutely cross their stage to get that high school diploma.
Yeah, yes, please go ahead, Director Ennis.
Okay, thank you so much. Also, just adding to what Superintendent Connor just mentioned, we have a number of graduation coaches for Black student achievement. We also, as a board, made a decision a couple of years ago to add a graduation coach for 2S and LGBTQ plus students. We also have a significant resources provided by the ministry for Indigenous students. And so those students who have experienced disproportionality in outcomes, sense of belonging, graduation, historically, we have additional supports as well, as in addition to the things that Superintendent Connor mentioned. So we share your desire, Trustee Rocha, to see every student graduate. Dr. Bishalia?
Yes, I just wanted to add that at a practical level, what we've added for principals is the ability to look at credit accumulation live, essentially. So at every reporting period, they're able to see the students that did not achieve the required number of credits per semester. So that adds a proactive level that the graduation coaches, the student success teams at the schools are able to then respond at the individual student level. Because what we have seen is when we look at the disproportionalities, they are introduced very early on as the student sort of engages with the academics. So students who come out of grade 8 achieving level 2s or just barely making the level 3s, that carries on to their first semester in grade 9. So it's a cumulative pattern that if they're not achieving their credits in grade 9, it gets harder in grade 10, it gets harder in grade 11, and so forth. So we're really encouraging principals and the school teams to look at that data. It is available. It's a dashboard that is available for them. It's updated on a continuous basis as credits come in so that we can proactively engage those students who are missing those credits. And so the at risk to graduation really begins at grade 9 with, not achieving those benchmarks in terms of their credit accumulation.
Thank you very much. And our final speaker, Trustee Baxter.
Thank you. Through the chair, I just have a question in the Human Rights, Equity, and Inclusion section of the report. The 2021 census is referenced throughout with respect to disproportionate outcomes, and Dr. Bechaglia has just mentioned that. Most of the data is presented on the website, and I'm wondering if we can see the rest of the data from that census around the socioeconomic indicators, understanding, of course, there may have been students who didn't complete those questions, who completed the others. But in terms of the non-identity-based questions that indicate things around socioeconomic factors, given that one of our objectives is to reduce the achievement and opportunity gaps between students who have varying socioeconomic circumstances, just wondering if we can see the remainder of the data from the census that's not already been presented publicly. Sorry, I'm looking at both because I'm not sure who I'm directing the question at. Sorry. Thank you. Right. Okay.
Thank you for the question through the chair. The socioeconomics questions revolved around parental education, occupation, and an estimate of income. And students had a really hard time answering those questions, particularly the elementary students. So those questions were probably the least fulsome questions that students reported on, and that is why we haven't used it, we haven't analyzed it, we haven't reported on those. We do use socioeconomic indicators by ways of the School Needs Index, and that index is captured through data that we actually purchased through Environics, and it's Statistics Canada data, so it's a family or adult report as opposed to a student level report. So we actually haven't even used that report from those questions.
And I would just quickly add that we also front load our resources and attention to schools and communities that we know have lower socioeconomic indicators, and so that's something that we also take into account proactively to address some of those and mitigate against some of the disproportionate outcomes that we're talking about.
Thank you. And seeing no other speakers, I have a couple of things I wanted to say myself. One being that this is exactly what I was looking for in a multi-year strategic plan monitoring report. And I'm so pleased. And I know how much work went into this. It's not easy to always find data points. And you found data points for every single commitment, multiple data points. And I'm so pleased with the content of this report. Thank you for all the hard work that went into it. I also wanted to suggest that, several years ago, probably 2 terms ago, the individuals who were working with our early leavers, as we used to call them, I don't know if that's still the terminology we use for people who leave before graduation, they came in and did a presentation to the Board of Trustees and talked about the work that they do. And I'm wondering if perhaps something like that could be done, and including the graduation coaches and a really good, fulsome presentation that we could have perhaps at Committee of the Whole. It's a better place for a presentation of that nature. I think it would be really good information. There were a number of questions about what happens to our students who don't graduate within 5 years, and it'd be really good for us to see what's in place, more than just hearing about it as a question is asked, but in an intentional, focused way of providing that information. So I was just hoping that we could get something like that. So moving on, we have the Board Self-Assessment Standing Committee Annual Report submitted by the Board Self-Assessment Standing Committee, Report 25125. And Vice Chair Oliver, would you like to speak to this report?
Sure, thank you. Through you, Chair, the report is before you, trustees. The committee had administered the same tool twice now, first in 2024 and again this year, which allows for trending of the results and a comparison of comments. A comparison of the results between the two years was shared with trustees at the September Committee of the Whole. And the committee recommends that the survey be used again in the coming year to continue to track progress and to learn from the comments collected. Thank you.
Are there any questions regarding this report? Seeing none, we will move on to 6.1.3, Financial Advocacy Standing Committee Annual Report, submitted by the Financial Advocacy Standing Committee, Report 25126. Vice Chair Oliver, you also chair this committee. Would you like to speak to the report?
Okay, thank you. This report is before you as well. The fair funding for HDSB students webpage, found under the correspondence from the chair, holds the salient information, and we encourage our HDSB community to have a look. Thank you.
Are there any questions regarding the Financial Advocacy Standing Committee report? Seeing none, we will move on to policy bylaw. Oh,
Sorry.
go ahead.
I was trying to get my act together fast enough.
Go ahead.
So with respect to the financial advocacy, where's my paper? Report, it's a standing committee. When I'm trying to think long term, insofar as when would this committee end? Is there like a target, a goal that the committee needs to accomplish before it dismantles? And I ask that because financial advocacy, we could ask for money for the next 100 years. We're probably, I don't know if we'll ever get it. So what would be the fait accompli for the committee to end?
I can respond to that. The standing committees are renewed at the beginning of each term of Board of Trustees. So if there was a vote amongst trustees to not renew this standing committee at the beginning of the next term or at any time, then the committee would no longer exist. Other than that, it's automatically renewed every anniversary of the term. So that's how we plan out our standing committee work for the term. Does that help?
I understand that, but my question was, so striking committee is coming up soon. So is there something in specific that this committee wants to accomplish so that come at the next striking meeting, we're ready to say, yes, let's renew it because the goals have not been met? So my question is, what's the one goal or the one item of the committee that it wants to accomplish before it doesn't need to be renewed?
Okay, so I'm going to try again. We don't renew it annually. We renew it every 4 years. So we wouldn't be voting to renew this committee when it comes to striking committees. We will just be looking at membership. If there's nobody interested in being on it, it won't exist. Or if someone brings a motion saying that it's no longer needed, it wouldn't exist. It's at the anniversary of our term that it would be determined whether or not it should continue. The goals are annual goals. They're not. That's not the purpose of a standing committee, is to dissolve when the goals are met. That's the goals of an ad hoc committee.
Okay, thanks.
Trustee Gray.
Thank you. I was hoping to answer Trustee Roche's question. But in hearing your answer, I may be off on this, but I would say this, having been a member of this committee for a number of years now, one of the overarching goals that this committee has tried to achieve is the building awareness among our parents as to how funding takes place and the very obvious shortfalls of the funding that exists here in the board. And I think you've seen that year over year as we've shown where our board sits in its funding level in relation to other boards of a similar size and in the same area of the province. And so it's that building that awareness and having our parents totally know that as excellent a board as we are, just think about how much even higher our standards could be hit if we were adequately funded. So that is kind of what I see as the overarching messaging. Maybe it's not a goal, but it's maybe a messaging that emanates from this committee. And I think it's the most important part of the committee. Thank you.
Are there any other speakers to this report? Seeing none, we will move on to the Policy, Bylaw, and Governance Standing Committee report submitted by the Policy, Bylaw, and Governance Standing Committee. And Robbie, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The report stands before you. We've set out items that were accomplished over the year, items that are still in progress, and items that are due for review in the coming year. This committee has operated at the minimum number of members for the last couple of years. If there are others interested in doing this work that helps shape the policies changes that the board makes, I would invite you to think carefully about joining us in when striking committee comes up.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Trustee Bryden? Seeing none, we will move on to our last report, 6.1.5, Inspire Award Annual Report, submitted by Trustees Gray and Horn.
Thank you very much through the chair. This report is as you have before you. I would make a few comments, however. About a year and a half ago to 2 years when we did a very big refresh, we had a very high uptick of nominations flowing in, and I couldn't help but reflect on the fact that this year, in 24-25, we had 66 recipients of this award, but the previous year it was close to double, I believe, that received the award. And so we may be at a turning point once again of looking at what we're doing. I had a chance to have a meeting today in the board office with the admin assistant who's helping us with this award, and I think that we have hit on a few things that might come forward in future meetings to the board of directors or to the board of trustees with regards to how this award may be further promoted within our schools. Trustee Horn did a great job of that tonight, as she always does at the beginning of each month, promoting that we need to have some more uptake of people nominating individuals. We know that our system has parents, teachers, social workers, educational assistants, community volunteers, managers, mentors, all kinds of people that are very, very worthy of this award. We just wish to acknowledge that in our system. And so we will, again, move forward in a direction that has us do a little bit of a look at this in the couple of months ahead. Thank you.
Thank you for this report. Are there any questions regarding the Inspire Awards annual report? Seeing none, that concludes our information items for this evening, and we will move on to 5.2, the Director's Report.
Thank you, Chair Collard, and good evening, everyone. The Director's Report for today, we start with our kindergarten registration, which is open and live, and so we are encouraging all families within the Halton region to bring your students, register them. You don't even have to bring them, you can do it online. And if you have questions, please ask your local schools, ask your trustees, ask your senior team, ask the people that you know, your neighbors, because as you've heard tonight through our monitoring report of our multi-year strategic plan, we have an excellent system and continuing to get better. We have our PIC conference coming up next week. It's always a highlight on our calendar, so we look forward to as many as can make it. We're inviting all families to sign up and to be out, and we are looking forward to a wonderful day of learning and growing together in that regard. The Directors Panel Series took place last Monday, and we had an excellent time with our Chair Collard, along with staff, celebrating excellence in learning, engagement, and achievement. Again, that's the cornerstone of the work that we do. And the most exciting part of the evening was that we're all so proud of our students, students who represented us so well. If you are looking for a voice, for an ambassador, for an advocate, of someone who's going to speak highly about their experiences in the Halton District School Board, get some students, because they are telling us some wonderful experiences that they're having, and we were so grateful to have them accompany us on that journey. We dedicated October 27th last week as Blue Jays Day. I know that's a topic that's off limit right now, and I'm sorry that I had to bring it up, but we're all heartbroken. We've had our therapy session, and we're looking forward to next year. But I want to say a big thank you to the staff and the teachers and families and everyone in the Halton District School Board who really showed support, strong support for our Toronto Blue Jays, and we wish them all the very best moving forward. One of my takeaway from that, and that was echoed by Superintendent Ippolito and others, was just about the common purpose of getting together, cheering on our team, bringing everyone together in unity. And, we're always so thankful for an opportunity to work collaboratively and positively towards a common goal, a common purpose in unity. And that's what we want to see more of as a board, where we're working together in unity. The Entrepreneur Within Conference took place October 22nd, and Chair Collard joined me there to give some opening remarks from the board. It was an incredible day where students were given real life world problems to solve, and they were coming up with some very creative solutions. They had folks who are from the industry, who are business owners, giving them advice. And we even had some students from grade 8. This was open to high school students, and we had a couple of students from one of our elementary schools who read about this and showed up, and we took care of them and made sure that they could participate. And of course, we made all the right phone calls to their parents and everybody else, and got everything in order. But this was the excitement that this generated. So it was a wonderful, wonderful evening or day. We also, our communications and engagement team, they didn't put it on the director's update, but I want to just congratulate our team, because at the recent CASE Awards, they won the award of distinction for the launch of the 2024 to 2028 multi-year strategic plan, recognizing the success in launching the MYSP to students, staff, families, and the broader community. They also received recognition for a student co-op video series created in collaboration with the secondary schools program team, which highlights the incredible experiences of HDSB students participating in co-op placements across Halton. So congrats to our communication engagement team for getting national recognition for the work that you're doing. And that concludes my report for this evening.
I'm not seeing any questions in the queue. I'll just give another minute. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to communications from the chair. Since our last board meeting, trustees have participated in several professional development opportunities, hosted meetings with parents, visited schools, and strengthened relationships with our municipal and provincial partners. The Ontario Public School Boards Association held regional meetings throughout the province to discuss issues related to governance, as well as pending provincial legislative bills. Trustees of the Halton District School Board are now preparing for a boundary review for a new secondary school in Oakville, as well as a review of the boundaries for elementary schools in the Aldershot Southeast Burlington area. Trustees participating on these committees will be listening to and working with parents and staff to promote sustainable, long-term boundaries for the schools that serve their communities. And that concludes my communications for today. We will now move on to our committee updates, and I will just ask if there are any reports for our statutory or staff-led committees tonight. Go ahead, Carol.
Thank you. Through the chair, on behalf of the Education Advisory Committee, I'd just like to report or provide a status. SEAC is currently looking at the budget. We've had a presentation from Superintendent Nagoy, and the next meeting, which I believe is next week, this month is going quickly, the committee will be breaking into smaller groups and discussing the implications of budget considerations that were presented to us in terms of specifically of our special education students or students receiving special education services. Did you want me to do the staff-led as well, since I'm already talking? Then the Accessibility Committee, I don't really have anything to report on that. It's a staff-led committee, always amazing to be present there and to see how staff work together across departments to support students. The Human Rights and Equity Advisory Committee had its first meeting of the year last week. An excellent, amazing group of people, volunteers who have come forward, a majority community members, as well as staff from the board who get together to discuss and advise the board. We welcome Superintendent Coquell to the meeting in his first meeting in his new role. There were some great discussions in small groups about the terms of reference for that committee, which needed updating. The next meeting is later this month and will include reviewing the anti-hate response protocol for school administrators, as well as a topic of committee interest, which is de-streaming, understanding the process, purpose, and impact. And as always, I will, of course, report back to trustees if there's any outcomes or discussions that might inform our work here. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Baxter. And I think I saw Trustee Rocha's hand. Yep.
Yep. So on behalf of the Environmental Leadership and Sustainability Committee, it met October 14th. Guest presenters included Jen Stevens and Genevieve Gill from Learning for a Sustainable Future, known as LSF. They shared highlights from their third climate change education survey, and key findings included 80% of Canadians acknowledge climate change, only 40% understand human activities as the primary cause. And as it relates to schools, 51% of teachers spend less than 10 hours annually on climate change topics, and students want more education on climate solutions and real-world actions. Lastly, at the meeting, Superintendents Fahat and Godat and Environmental Sustainability Manager Irwin discussed the 24-25 Environmental Leadership and Sustainability Impact Report, which was the same one they presented at the October 8th board meeting. And last but not least, the next meeting is scheduled for December 9th. And that is all.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Trustee Zhang, would you like to give us an update on PIC?
Okay, thank you, Chair. As Director already included in the report, and we will have the PIC conference on November 15th in Milton. And all the parents, if you haven't registered, please just find the email from the school board and register. And this is a one-day, 4-day event. We have so many informative the workshop, and so in the past we get a lot of very positive feedback for those workshops. This helps the parents, and the parents can using those information from the conference to support their children. And in this conference, and we have the school bus from each municipalities. So if you need the transportation support, please let us know. We can give you the information where you can take the bus. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trustee Zhang. Now we move on to item 6.5, the OPSPA update, and I would like to ask Trustees Gray and Daniele to tell us what's happening in OPSPA.
Thank you very much. Just OPSPA news update on Saturday, November the 1st. Trustee Bryden, Oliver, Daniele, and I attended the Central West meetings hosted by the Peel District School Board. The bulk of the agenda were discussions on the topic of revisioning OPSPA's governance structure. We looked at a proposed two-tier model transitioning the board of directors, the current board of directors, to a smaller executive board of 9 to 13 members, supported by a more robust and elevated regional council structure. After discussing this at length, including the benefits of the draft structure, the members of the Central West declined to make a decision or recommendation, but rather wished to wait and learn what other regions who were also meeting that day right around the province would be proposing with regards to the governance structure. A follow-up will take place at the next Board of Director meeting being held later this month. I want to make trustees aware of a new website called Democracy is Not Outdated. And finally, registration is now open for the Public Education Symposium taking place January 23 to 24, 2026. The next regional meeting is scheduled for April 11. Please put that on your calendars. Thank you.
Point of order?
Yep, go ahead.
Actually, it's the hotels that have opened for registration. Registration for the conference opens November 17th.
And that's why we have a team. Are there any questions for either Trustee Daniele or Trustee Gray? Seeing none, thank you very much for everyone who was able to attend the regional meeting. Now we move on to trustee questions of clarification, and I will ask if anyone has questions this evening. Please go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. I'm always excited if I use the technology right, so thank you. So my question is for Director Ennis, just following up on the student trustee report from trustees Ho and Zhu, and their description of the work that they've done and surveys of students around our bathrooms in our schools. That's something that I was hearing about before I became a trustee, when I was just watching the meetings. I was one of the viewers on YouTube of your meetings before I got here. So I know it's a long-term issue, and I would imagine that it's something that staff are well aware of and working on. And I just wanted to ask Director Ennis if you could provide some comments or some information on how the board is tackling what does seem to be an ongoing and long-term issue in probably all schools, would be my guess. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Trustee Baxter. I certainly want to thank Trustee Ho and Zhu for bringing it to our attention, and certainly they have spoken about this not just tonight but in the past around the efforts to complement the work that we're doing as staff with the responsibility that students also have in maintaining these facilities. I can tell you that we have spent lots of money and lots of time in trying to fix this issue. Unfortunately, sometimes we do get immediate damages to washroom and standards in washrooms after spending a lot of money, and so there's a frustration there. But we do understand that students, that is an issue, Trustee Baxter, that we have heard about, as you have for a while. But it is not for lack of effort on our part, and that it's how do we find that that synergy between what we're doing and helping students understand their responsibility, I believe, is what our student trustees had mentioned previously, so that we can find a place, because we don't like what's happening and we want to fix it. I don't know, Superintendent Goodette, would you comment on this for me, please?
Yeah, thanks, Director Ennis, and through the chair to Trustee Baxter. I appreciate the report from student trustees and would love to collaborate and learn more and understand specifics. We have been working with administrators through our elementary program accommodation committees, as well as our secondary program accommodation committees, to review opportunities that we can use to leverage and strengthen, whether it's supervision or behaviors. I will say that, second to security, washroom cleanliness is a priority for our staff. So our custodial team focuses on security, and then next is washroom cleanliness. And as many of you are aware, most of our custodial teams and staff work in the evening. So when we start our school day in the morning, we hope that our bathrooms are clean and tidy, and certainly we would expect that to degrade over the course of a day. We only have a head custodian and lead hands in our secondary schools to help maintain the cleanliness of the facilities during the day. And we also have other challenges at some sites. We have many kindy bathrooms, as well as community pathway programs in our elementary and secondary schools that we need to attend to as well. So there's no shortage of needs within our schools, and we are working with our custodial team as well as our administrators to do the best that we can. But we do recognize the challenges, and certainly coming out of the pandemic with TikTok challenges, we saw it on our neighboring property, where despite spending more than $800,000 on complete refurbishments of our bathrooms, they were unfortunately destroyed by students and unacceptable behavior. So we continue to work with our admin teams to find and test alternate solutions to provide, I'll say, passive supervision, improve on the supervision, as well as continue to maintain them to the best of our ability.
Thank you. Now we have Vice Chair Oliver.
Thank you, through your chair. Yeah, this certainly is not a new issue. With my high school is having a reunion later this month, and funny enough, an article was shared from the school newspaper dating back to the late 80s, talking about washroom facilities. And so this has been an ongoing issue. And for anybody watching this, listening to this conversation, I want people to understand that it's not that we're not maintaining our washrooms, taking care of the facilities and keeping them clean. This really speaks to the issue of student behavior in the washrooms and what's taking place. And that's certainly a discussion that I've had with our student trustees. And so I know that they're interested in flipping this onto student accountability and educating students in their role in maintaining, proper etiquette in the washrooms and taking care of our facilities, because as we've been saying, or I've been saying, schools are students' second home, and so they have some responsibility in how they behave and how they maintain the space. Thank you.
I'm just going to go to the first speaker, which is Trustee Rocha.
This is a question of clarity. So through you, Chair. When I asked earlier about the Standing Committee for the Financial Advocacy, did you say that it gets renewed every 4 years? Okay, so that's counter to what's written in the report that was submitted, where it says that the committee will be renewed annually on the anniversary of the board's term. So that's what's written in the report, and I know that that is what's in our GP. So when you said it gets renewed every 4 years, that threw me for a loop, because it's not consistent to what's written.
I believe the membership is renewed every year annually on the anniversary date, but I'll defer to Vice Chair Oliver.
Yes, I believe that's a typo. It's missing the word membership, which will be renewed at our striking committees.
And going back to Trustee Ho.
Through you, Chair. Thank you, Trustee Baxter, for bringing that up, and I completely agree with Trustee Oliver. We do think that it's more of like a school culture thing and something that's existed for a while. I remember specifically when we had this conversation with our student senate, they were very vocal about the problems that existed, but when I tried to change the discussion to more about what do you think the solution is, what do you think the next step is, a lot of them had a lot of hesitations, because they know that our custodial staff are doing the best they can, and they always comment that they're always there when they need to be. So what I think Trustee Shu and I really want to work on this year is rather thinking about how we can have better messaging to the students in terms of their responsibilities within the community.
Thank you very much for that proactive approach, Trustee Ho. And I'm seeing no other speakers on the speakers list, so I'm just going to mention something that I forgot to ask when we were hearing about the boundary reviews. And given that there will be trustee elections in October of 2026, assuming the status quo continues, we might want to make sure that those LTAPs, particularly the one for, not the LTAPs, the boundary review, particularly for Oakville, which I believe was suggested might come as late as October, that would be a hard date, because if we're switching over and we have different trustees coming on, it's very, very difficult to bring them all up to speed to vote on something that big. We had to go through something like that a number of years ago when we did the Pineland boundary review, and the brand new first day on the job trustees voted on the boundaries for Pineland. A number of them felt very uncomfortable about that, and I can understand why they felt that way. It was a delay in the process. It had gone back for further review, and that's what caused the issue. But I would really hope that we make sure that this boundary review is done and dusted before the beginning of November. Thank you. Now we can move on to 6.7, trustee news. Do we have any announcements for this evening? And seeing none, we will head into private session. Trustee Zhang, would you move a motion to go into committee of the whole private session respecting property, security, and litigation matters?
Yes, please.
This meeting is not open to the public pursuant to Education Act 2072. Trustee Ahmed has left. I'm sorry. Trustee Daniele, would you like to second this motion?
Yes, I would.
Thank you very much. Are there any objections to moving into private session? Seeing none, the motion is passed by unanimous consent, and we are now in private session. Vice Chair Oliver, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Let's take a break and reconvene at 8:30. Thank you.
Welcome back to public session. We are now on agenda item number 8, approval of business transacted in committee of the whole, private session. Vice Chair Oliver, do you have any business from private session that requires approval?
We do. We have 3 items. I'll start. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve the resolution from the Halton District School Board Committee of the whole private session, November 4, 2025, respecting property matters, report 25082, private session agenda item 4.1, and I so move.
Trustee Baxter, would you second this motion?
Yes, please.
Is there any debate? Seeing none, please cast your votes.
What is it? What is it? What's the report number?
Okay, do we have all the votes? Yes. Okay, thank you. That passes unanimously. Oops.
Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve the resolution from the Halton District School Board Committee of the whole private session, November 4, 2025, respecting personal matters. And that's agenda item 4.2. Sorry. Property matters. Private session agenda 4.2.
Trustee Daniele, would you second this motion?
Yes, I would.
Is there any debate? Seeing none, please cast your votes. That passed unanimously. Trustee or Vice Chair Oliver, do you have another motion?
I do. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve the resolution from the Halton District School Board Committee of the whole private session, November 4, 2025, respecting property matters. Private session agenda item 4.3, and I so move.
Trustee Wovenhorst, would you second this motion?
Yes, I will. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there any debate? Seeing none, please cast your votes. That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And we have now reached section 9.0, adjournment. As our agenda is exhausted, I call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.